So welcome aboard the Galeon 560. You join us on a lovely, crisp winter November morning, and today we have a special guest with us who's kindly given up his time. That is Tony Castro. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
Tony is the main designer for the Galeon Yachts, and today we're just going to have an informal chat to let Tony explain to us about his involvement with Galeon and some of the designs that he's produced over the years. Before we begin, Tony, it would be great if you could just give us a little overview, perhaps, of how you've arrived at this point. We know you've with Galeon,
sure.
But also your own sort of experience. I know you've been in the business for probably over 40 years, I think, from what I've read.
47.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, yes. So we would just, it'd be great to hear about how you sort of started off in life and how you've ended up here today. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay. So it was in a beautiful day like today.
Yeah.
I remember it very well. It was September. It was a Southampton Boat Show in the year 2000.
Okay.
And at the time there was a new English Galeon dealer.
Okay.
And Galeon was exhibiting for the first time, and they had some little 6-metre or so boats, little tiny things, and they were asking the dealer what they should do and so on. And I was just lucky because the dealer knew me, and he said, "Oh, I know somebody maybe you can talk to. It'd be good to sort of have some discussion." So he called me up, and so I went over to the show that afternoon. We met to meet the two of them, father and son, and we started this discussion. And I'm still doing it, 24 years later.
Wow!
So it's been quite a really interesting journey.
Yeah.
I think mostly because we started from nothing.
For sure.
So it's very rewarding to get involved in all of that.
Yeah.
Not just the pure design, but also to try to guide people in choosing the right way forward, especially those who might not know enough about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, with passage of time, they also learn a lot about how to build a boat and how to, the market and everything. Yeah. So it's been a long time. I mean, it's been, quite a sort of a nice relationship. Yeah. They are generally very nice people.
Yeah.
They've got a very sound kind of workforce.
Yeah.
Which they had already had almost another 15, if not more, years of experience, because originally the guy who started the company was in the merchant navy.
Okay.
Right, and because of that, he's a seaman. He's a serious ocean person, so he knows what the sea is like.
Yeah.
And I always remember the early conversations. He was very sure of the kind of things that he wanted to do, his responsibility to deliver a good product, a good sea boat. Because, of course, he you could tell when you spend your life at sea, you've got some strong views about how safe it's got to be, how strong it's got to be. Yeah. And I could see that was a very good, strong sort of base. To go on,
Sure.
All the things they're lacking, I thought I could provide with
and
time.
When you got involved with them in around the 2000, so what was the biggest boat they were building at the time?
7 meters.
Oh wow! Nothing. Okay, so little day boats.
But in the 15 or so years before, they had been taught how to build boats by the French.
Right.
Because they built close to 4,000 boats by then already. Okay. For the French, Jeannot, the biggest company in the world.
Right.
So again, I think they got a very good base learning, if you like, for a number of years, so they knew how to do the basics quite well. So the workforce was well educated, if you like. Yes. So it was a very strong. So I could see this was going to be potentially very good.
Yeah.
Good direction, good people, everything was very nice. And it turned out pretty much like that. I mean, I think one of the things that's always surprised me was how the workforce was able to understand the level that they need to reach. Mm-hmm. And often that's something that when you go to a less developed country, the workforce over there, they think they are the best in the world. Mm-hmm. And that's because they don't know much what happens on the rest of the world.
Sure.
And often that leads to them reaching a level that could have been higher. Uh-huh. The moment you teach them what the level should really be, they often are able to achieve it. Yeah. But they need to embrace it. And change is very difficult to do in any company.
Sure.
So, but they did. And that's one thing that surprised me, is how quickly they managed to get what we call the fit and finish of the boats to a level a few number of years much earlier than I imagined.
Yes.
And that has helped them, of course, because the product comes out quite good, good quality, good value for money. Mm. And that really, of course, helped them, despite not being Italian,
Yeah.
which they seem to get away with all the time.
Yeah.
So that was very, it's very good. And so nowadays I'm obviously more focused on the design side. And another interesting thing I think that sort of characterizes Galeon is I don't ever remember them saying no to me.
Yeah, they're always open to the innovation.
Every time we come up with any mad idea, they never said no. Never. Yeah. And the other thing, the second thing, which is really, really significant, is, and I know this by comparison to all the other builders that I work with, is that when they set off to do a boat, they very, very rarely talk about the cost to build that boat. Very rarely. I have many other clients where the purchasing manager sits in the meetings from day one telling me what I cannot do because they are working backwards from a figure. I never seen Galeon do that. Okay. They've always set out to do, we want the best 56-footer, we want the best this, we want the best that. Yeah. And that's been very, very characteristic of their attitude, which is the reason why today we got where we got to, because
so fast,
otherwise, they wouldn't be receptive to the ideas. Neither were they able to execute them, because it's not just the design that matters, it's then the execution of the design. And often when you go into real production and you start looking at where things have to join, there's a new series of issues and problems which belong to the production people. But they still need to be able to handle it and do it with a positive attitude. This is what we got from Tony. Yeah. Now we're going to try to make it work. And often they might even improve it sometimes. So,
and did they get involved? So do you do the sort of the basic design and then work with them with their internal people, or are you actually involved in the whole process? Over the years, I think I tend to deal mostly with Jacek, which is the son of the original owner. Yeah. And we obviously start off with the sketches and the ideas. Yeah. I mean, we even these days everything starts with a pencil. With a pencil, yeah.
Get some sketches.
Well, it's good to know, I think.
And then it sort of goes forward. Yeah. Of course, nowadays, because the company is much bigger and they got various models, there is quite a lot of thinking about where you slot a new model, and then does it need to be 2 feet smaller or 2 feet bigger? What characteristics it should have. So there's much more of a kind of a chat about market research.
Where that's going to fit in.
What's going to fit, what other people are doing, all our competitors, of course, are doing, and that just sort of evolves, and then the quality, let's say, of the images or the work that we deliver sort of improves as the time goes on. Yeah. So as the time goes on, the drawings look more finished. Yeah. And then it's a kind of well, it actually happens quite often. Yeah. But then we might go away for 4 days or 5 days or whatever, and then deliver some. This is where we got to,
from sort of point of conception, where the factory say, we'd like you to look at designing something, let's say a 48-foot boat.
Yeah.
They've just launched the new 480 Fly.
Yeah.
How long ago did you have to start thinking about that boat, from at the point of conception to where it's actually reality? How long do they, on average?
Usually a year and a half.
Okay.
Which is
still quite quick, though,
pretty
isn't it,
average.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends. In all these years, I've never had less than 3 ever projects going at the same time.
On the same time. Wow.
Never less.
Okay.
Sometimes more.
Yeah.
But there's always something going on. Always.
I mean, something just moving on a little bit from that is that one of the signature features on the Galeon yachts is the balconies, or the beach mode, as the factory call it.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I can see, that looked like your idea.
I've had.
What sort of inspired you to come up with that idea? Because I mean, it's what Galeon, to be fair, I would say, in our involvement in the last couple of years,
Yes.
everybody talks about it.
I know that's because it's such a massive, significant thing.
Yeah.
I think the first one came out in 2010.
Right.
With one of my favorite Galeons, which is a 500.
Yes.
And
it was just.
It's just a very visible feature as well. Yeah. So obviously it's.
And I guess the thinking behind it was just to increase the cockpit space on a smaller boat.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you?
Yeah, and also we pay a lot of attention, or how we think the owners would like to use their boats.
Sure.
Because over this time, over 25 years, people use the boats very differently.
Yeah.
Right. And in the old days, or even before Galeon, people, they did long voyages. They actually traveled on their boats a lot. Yeah. Nowadays, there's people who use the boats just to be in this environment.
Yeah,
just
it's a very social atmosphere, isn't it?
And to enjoy the location and to enjoy this kind of lifestyle that a boat affords you. Yeah. So then suddenly some things become more important, and perhaps other things become a little bit less important.
Yeah, sure.
But as that changes, we try to think. We try to think. Well, what can we come up with that would make the experience more enjoyable? So we look at different areas of the boat. So what shall we? Are we ready for? Like a few years ago, we started making much more use of the foredeck, for example.
Yeah.
So, he started off by having a more complex layout in the front. Yeah. Then he moved on to the movable seats in the front. Yeah. And then eventually he said, wouldn't it be nice if you could just walk straight through? So we created this massive window on the windscreen.
On the 640,
in order to go to the foredeck.
Yes.
So obviously when Jacek first saw that, actually I do remember, because at that time he didn't say yes or no. I think he just kind of did not know what to say.
What to say, yeah.
And because it sounded like one of those, no, we can never manage that, Yeah. But characteristically, we just went on and sort of made it happen. It was not easy at all, because it was obviously being in the front. It was quite difficult to make it watertight and all the rest of it, and also because it's got a lower part and a top part. Yeah. Oh God, it is very complex.
Well, I can tell you from our own experience that single design feature had sold. We had a 640 in stock this year, and the couple that have bought that boat, one of their main decisions, along with the balconies, was that they could walk through the foredeck of onto the foredeck without having to go outside.
That's right,
and they love it.
Yeah. Because it
was a good idea.
If you look at it, if you think about how people would use the boat during the day, it makes so much sense. Yeah. It's enjoyable, and then there's a little bar nearby,
you have the sink and the wet bar,
and the cold drinks and so on. So it just becomes like another area, which is often nice, because if you have kids and so on, you might like the kids to go to one corner and you can have a snooze elsewhere. So it's nice to have these different areas as we have now. Up there, Fly. Then front is getting more and more sophisticated all the time. then on the back.
Yes, and a lot of the models have the carousel, which again our customers seem to love.
Yeah.
And to be able to rotate the
and look
the
aft.
seating.
How often have we thought about why on earth are we always looking at the patio door?
Yeah, when the view is that way.
when the view is often that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
So
well, particularly the 510 that we've recently sold.
Yeah.
Again, the customers absolutely love that idea, and also being able to put the little fridges underneath the seats we've done, and also combining that with the tender garage, which is a perfect solution to make the best use of that of that space. So,
indeed.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
because sometimes I think it's something that can come from the dealers, which is the important role that the dealers can play or should play.
Yeah,
I'm a great one for that. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because when I first started designing production boats, I think the first one I did for the French was 1978.
Right.
The first thing I noticed is that they were like a very happy family, and they paid enormous attention to the dealer network.
Right. And
in fact, in those days, it was well known that they had this phenomenal evening, always at Paris Boat Show.
Yeah.
So, for example, one time they chartered the train, that high-speed train that goes from Paris to Dijon, and we all went for dinner. Dijon an hour later on this high-speed train, or they
so it was a cool, fun evening. Yeah,
but there was a very serious side to this, and that was to capture the feeling
and the emotions of the
dealers, mood and the opinions of the dealers, which I personally learned then how useful it was, because they also bring quite a lot of feelings from their own customers and what the customers are asking. We might talk to them during boat shows, but it's, you guys talk to them all the time, every day of the year. So I think to capture that data, it sounds a bit sort of high-tech, but data is everything.
I think
without data, what shall we design tomorrow? I mean, if we want to limit our risks, it's best to do it with data. Talk to the customer, give him what he wants.
Well, that was going to be one of my next questions. Is how do you see the future of design on a number of fronts? Actually, there's, for instance, a lot of manufacturers seem to be using or designing, I'd call it like an explorer-style yacht.
Yes.
Is that something that you would see potentially in the future, or is that not really the Galeon sort of trajectory at the moment?
Yeah. Oh, I think that obviously as the market grows, what the users want also changes, because it increases in diversity.
Yeah.
Because you get that many more people around the world all wanting to join our club, right? So they come with different needs, different lifestyles even, and so on. So people try to react, and also to sort of excite a bit the market, something new, as Galeon has done with the GTO, for example. When we saw this opportunity growing in America, in particular, where those kind of boats were obviously very dated, and they needed something sort of fresh. And the same, I think, goes for the Explorer. So.
The GTO, sorry, just to go back on that, the GTO range has proved to be hugely popular in the States. Outboard boats seem to be, and you've managed to incorporate the balconies as well.
It coincided with a vastly improved outboard technology.
Yes.
The two things the two things got married together almost accidentally. At the same time,
right?
So the outboard suddenly became okay. It's okay.
It's not seen as a disadvantage.
It's not seen as a disadvantage. Exactly. So that helped enormously. And obviously
Did it provide lots of challenges in the design of an outboard boat?
No, not really. Not really. If anything, it's simpler. It's
Yeah.
simpler, and obviously, it's also a little bit simpler for the builder because obviously,
everything's just bolted on,
and the machinery space becomes much simpler to do. Also equipment, you see. So equipment is also very relevant. How the whole equipment changes, the technology of the various parts. It's all.
It helps you in the design process.
It's all changing, and also often what they create allows us to then style it different. So you have the helm stations that now look, a little bit like Star Wars.
Yeah.
But because they evolve, that allows the design also to evolve because we can do different things with that equipment.
And that's why you were saying to us that going to the trade show at Metz is still very important for you.
Because
to
you can
just
see,
go and take a look at the new,
and you can see what's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, before a boat used to last good 10 years.
Yeah.
Now the pressure is on after 5 or 6 years. The pressure is on to come up with the next new thing. So that makes life very difficult for the builder. I mean, very, very difficult.
And do you see, going on from that, do you see sustainable fuels or the production process also being slightly more sustainable? Do you think that will feature heavily?
Yes, it does.
In the next few years?
Absolutely. But again, a lot depends on what that industry will do. Galeon is not going to go and invent synthetic fuel.
No.
We don't have time for that, right?
Yeah.
So that has to come from an external source.
Sure.
But it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, there's already some fuels that you can use on normal engines.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, of course, is infrastructure. If you made a boat only for that, then you couldn't travel freely.
Yeah.
Because you don't know whether you're going to have the supply
at the other end
elsewhere.
Yeah, sure.
So that's something that I personally find a little bit frustrating. That there is an awful lot of talk about what I call the unobtainable.
Mm-hmm.
We seem to be spending a lot of time discussing the unobtainable,
right,
or what might be obtained in 10 years or whatever. And I think there's not enough emphasis on what can we do now. What can we do today? Right, and the stuff that we could do today that we're not doing enough. And that is, I think, what we should all be doing from an industry point of view.
Not just the builder.
Not just the
Okay.
So it's hopefully it'll come. It'll come.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, it would be good to just, without you giving any secrets away from the Galeon factory, I know we've got a really exciting new model coming probably in the first half of next year, which is the new Galeon 620 Fly. Just talk to us a little bit about that model, particularly because we can, and it'll explain to maybe some of our customers and viewers that the next innovation that you're going to offer us, which we're all very excited about.
Well, the two sides to it. Obviously, it's a boat intended to kind of a slot into a little gap that we have, which they needed to do. And then on the other hand, of course, how many new ideas can we possibly introduce without making everything obsolete? So, I mean, there's quite a few things there. So he's fairly turbocharged with new things.
Turbocharged, okay. That's a good word.
So it'll be interesting how the people will react to it. There's quite a few things. I mean, for example, we don't like to deviate too much from a good hull design. For example, we could have deviated a lot more if we were to follow pure fashion, if you like. So in that sense,
you've got a good formula. You didn't want to change it.
We don't want to mess around with something that works well.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, there is still a lot of Galeon owners who actually do use the boats out there.
Yes.
And
so it still has to be a good seaboat.
So we still try to make it as good seaboat as possible.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to seeing it, and hopefully there'll be some pictures available soon.
Yes.
And I think, you know, I hope everybody's enjoyed just getting a little insight into Tony's life and work with Galeon. And you know, we really thank you very much for taking time today to come and talk to us.
No problem. We'd like to do that as often as you like.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, Tony.
Tell the story.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.